When you look at the global economy, one of the most incredible stories happening right now is in Asia. It's this gigantic, interconnected web of trade, money, and people. And honestly, it's getting more complex by the day.
And all that complexity brings up a really big question. How exactly is Azure building this thing? And maybe more importantly, just how strong is this web really? Let's dig in and find out.
Okay, first up, let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale we're talking about here. Asia's economy isn't just big, it's deeply, deeply connected, a massive network that's always on the move.
Check out this number, because it says it all. 56.1%. That's the share of all trade in Asia that happens within Asia. So Asian economies trading with other Asian economies. That's way higher than what you see in Africa or Latin America, and it tells you this is a really tightly knit marketplace.
Now, you'd probably think all this connection is thanks to a bunch of great trade deals, right? Well, this is where things get kind of weird. There's a paradox here.
I mean, on the surface, everything looks amazing. Asia is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to signing trade deals. They're responsible for nearly half of all of them on the entire planet, so you'd think the commitment is there.
But here's the kicker. The actual impact? It's tiny. Trade deals between Asian countries give exports a little nudge, just a 3% boost. Now compare that to the 20% boost they get from deals made with countries outside of Asia. So what on earth is going on?
Well, this problem actually has a name, and it's a great one. The noodle bowl effect. Just picture it. This tangled, confusing, overlapping mess of different deals, and every single one has its own rules, its own tariffs. If you're a business, especially a smaller one, trying to figure all that out is a massive headache. It creates so much paperwork and cost that a lot of times it's just easier to not even bother.
So at the end of the day, the problem isn't the number of deals they have, it's their quality. A lot of these agreements are what experts call narrow and shallow. They're not really creating new highways for trade, they're just paving over the same old roads. And that really limits their power to grow the economic web.
But an economy isn't just about boxes on a ship. Integration is also about people. So let's switch gears and look at the human side of this network, because that tells a totally different and much stronger story.
Just look at these numbers. Back in 1990, Asia got about 19% of all the money sent home by migrants around the world. Fast forward to today, and that number has exploded to 43%. We're talking about almost $400 billion. That's a massive flow of cash, but it also represents millions of individual family stories connecting economies.
In fact, this is so important that for many of these countries, these remittances are literally the largest and most stable source of external financing they've got. Think about that. It's often more reliable and more impactful than big foreign investments or international aid.
And this is where technology comes in and changes the game. Digital payment platforms are starting to link up across borders. This is making it way cheaper and way easier for people to send money home. And this isn't just about convenience. It's pushing transaction costs down from almost 6% toward the UN's goal of 3%. And it's pulling millions of people into the formal banking system for the very first time.
Now, to make this whole web stronger, Asian economies aren't just looking at each other. They're looking outward, too. They're building some really powerful partnerships. And the relationship between the European Union and ASEAN, well, that's a masterclass in how to do it.
And this isn't some new friendship. This goes way back. Their formal talks started in 1977. Over the decades, it's gotten deeper and deeper, and in 2020, it became an official strategic partnership. This long history just shows how serious and committed both sides are.
And we're not just talking about boring trade stuff here. Look at the kinds of things they're working on together. A huge green initiative, making sure infrastructure is sustainable, fighting cybercrime, preparing for the next pandemic. This is a partnership that is totally focused on the big challenges of the future.
And they're putting serious money where their mouth is. The EU's Team Europe initiative is looking to pull together 1 billion euros, with a B, all for sustainable projects in Southeast Asia. That's how you turn big ideas into real-world projects like green energy and digital networks.
So let's zoom out. Where does all of this leave Asia? Well, the road ahead is complicated. You've got these incredibly powerful forces pulling the entire region in opposite directions. You can basically picture Asia's future as this giant tug of war. On one side of the rope, you have all this geopolitical tension and fragmentation trying to pull economies apart. But on the other side, there's this urgent, desperate need for everyone to work together more closely to survive global shocks.
And there is no bigger test for that cooperation than climate change. It's estimated that Asia needs about $1.1 trillion every single year to deal with it. Right now, they've only got about $300 billion. That leaves a gap of $800 billion a year. That is a staggering number that no single country can possibly handle alone.
And that brings us right back to our central question. As all these global forces are trying to pull things apart, can Asia's own economic web, this network of trade, people, and partnerships, hold strong enough? Is it tough enough to build a future that's both resilient and sustainable? You know, the answer to that question is going to define the next chapter for all of us.